Welcome to RAC. Right.
You did it.
Welcome to RAP, the Ranking Attack podcast. I'm Sam.
Are you Sam? I'm Shane.
Let's start again.
Yeah, keep going. You're Sam and Shane. I'm Shane, you're Sam.
Both of
rap.
them. It's
Ranking
RAP,
Attack
definitely.
podcast.
That's the most important thing.
Ranking Attack. Oh, it is kind of tough to go Ranking Attack podcast. Ranking Attack podcast.
We should have thought about our name not being a tongue twister before we even started this, shouldn't we?
Oh, well, that's the way it goes, man.
Anyway, that's the way it is. It's another Wednesday. We're fitting this in between different duties around the city. And holy shit, we're bearing down on the midway point of the season. It's week 8, dude.
Yeah, after this week, we're halfway done the season. I mean, really, we're more than halfway done the fantasy season when you think about it.
Yeah.
Or about halfway.
About halfway.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of leagues will finish after week 15, right?
Yep.
16 in there. That's the way it is. There's only football for so long every year, my friend.
It's short, it's sweet.
And
It's like autumn in Poland.
hey, yeah, well, nicer this year.
Nicer this year. There you go. So as always, we're here to give you the best fantasy tips this side of the Atlantic. And we're 5 hours ahead of you, so it's like we can see into the future.
Yeah.
We're
well,
prescient.
If they're on the east, I mean, if they're on the west, it's 8 hours ahead.
It's like being in a different continent.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, that's how science works, I'm pretty sure. So what do we have in store for you gorgeous people today? So we're going to look back and forwards at Week 7's results and Week 8's under and overrated players. We're going to tip our fantasy kryptonite and catnip players, and it's not Jeff Cumberland.
No?
No, it's not.
I was reading Cumby.
Cumby. And then we're going to highlight 2 games that we think are pretty fantasy relevant. And finally, we bundle up the good old fantasy trust tree and help a brother, or this week's sister,
In need.
in need. So let's get into it. So, Shane, how did you do last week in fantasy?
Well, following the theme, I went 3-0 this week, following up on my 0-3 week, which followed up on my 3-0 week.
Consistently inconsistent.
That's the way it is, brother. Nothing too special. I had Lamar Miller basically win me one league. My 22-team league was actually just consistent all the way across.
Okay.
Lots of 15s. Always nice to see. And Flea Flicker, I dominated some chump. I can't remember.
Okay.
It wasn't you.
So it was a win. No, it wasn't me. It wasn't me. Good.
How about yourself?
3-0 is 3-0 again. Can't complain. It wasn't really close in any of them. I guess the closest one was our Flea Flicker one, and I had to wait until the Cards had played Monday because I had their kicker and D.
Okay.
So, but I was only 7 points behind. So
All right.
it was pretty much.
You came ahead by 10-ish.
I think by about 10-15 in the end. And, apart from that, it was good. And it's always nice to be able to, from a fantasy level, to go to sleep on a Sunday night knowing that nothing's going to ruin when you wake up.
Yeah, I think somebody had to score like 36 points on Monday night
Right.
for one of my leagues, but it wasn't even close.
Fine, so there you
It
go.
was all good.
All right, so let's move on to what went right and what went wrong in Week 7. And last week we were looking at Mr. Alliteration himself, Dalton Del Don,
Yeah.
over on Yahoo. Great name, we decided. And so let's start with the underrated on Week 7, and we pretty much whiffed on both of these badly.
Yeah. I'm looking at mine last week. I must have been drunk or something. No. Landry Jones.
Drunk on coffee.
Landry Jones last week, right? They had him ranked 25th versus Kansas City. Yeah, I didn't whiff that bad. He ended up 24th.
Yeah, so you said he was underrated.
Yeah, well, that's so he was underrated by 1, right?
Okay, all right. Well, in that case.
But no, if you started Landry Jones and got 6 points from your QB, you were probably pretty upset.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Especially as how much my
I'm sure I said he was a QB2 at minimum, so he was not a QB2. So I will call it a miss. I'll give you that.
And actually the same. I went with Bryant, Martavis Bryant, and he was ranked 20th overall and 33rd in PPR. And he actually ended up bang on 20th in standard.
All right, so there you go. Again, not a big whiff, but we expected more.
He wasn't underrated, he wasn't overrated.
Yeah, I think everybody got a little bit too excited about Landry Jones's previous week's performance.
And his performance obviously impacted on Bryant.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. I mean, going forward, Bryant will be much better this week with Roethlisberger. I mean, he should
Presumably
be back.
back. And I think with Big Ben, that you don't really have to worry about him. We know he can play through the pain. Mm-hmm. So if he's active, you're starting him. And I really like him this week.
You're going to start him, yeah.
Definitely.
Our overrateds this last week.
They a bit better. A bit better. You chose Ben Watson.
Ben, tight end, Saints. Yeah, they had him ranked 9th, so, that's top 10 TE, tight end 1.
Yep.
He didn't make that list. I mean, 15th, I guess, isn't horrible.
5 fantasy points.
Yeah.
He was never going to repeat what he had the week before.
Yeah, it was like a couple touchdowns.
A couple of touchdowns and over 100 yards. It was a career game for him.
Yeah, it's not easy pick, not a huge hit, but a hit, yeah.
Yeah, no, it was.
And you had?
I had LeGarrette Blount over in New England, and Del Don had him ranked at 13th and had Lewis ranked at 12th.
Okay.
So Lewis actually didn't start.
Right, so you would have assumed that Blount was going to have a big day, but
he ended up, he was outside the top 60 running backs in standard scoring.
That's what happens when you get negative yards.
Negative 3 yards, clearly no points. And New England, they shut the run down. Well, okay, I was going to say New England had their run game shut down, but I don't think they did.
Yeah,
they absolutely schemed for it.
For sure.
They knew what was coming, so they decided to give it to Brady, put the ball in the air, and he went 400 yards in those final 2 fourth-quarter drives, 14 of 17 on long drives and stuff like that.
I don't remember the numbers, but they ran the ball like 5 or 6 times.
It was
the
minimal.
First time that in his
Brady
career,
was the leading rusher.
Exactly.
Yeah,
so and again, I mean, you hit without really hitting what you thought you'd hit, but you hit.
But I hit, so there you go. I mean, and that's the strength of New England overall, is that coming in for every week, you don't know how they're going to run. No. You don't know how they're going to do it.
Who's going to run, who's going to pass.
Who's going to run, who's going to punt.
They're going to always pass a bit, but you don't know who's running.
No.
That's the way it is.
And that book, actually, that we've just finished reading, Collision Low Crosses, kind of gives you an idea into their scheme, is that actually their sets and their routes are quite often quite similar, but it just depends on who runs them.
Yeah, the personnel changes.
The personnel changes. That's what gets it. And I was listening just now on one of the podcasts, the Roughing the Passer podcast on CBS, and they were saying that one of the things that they're doing now, which is previously seen as a no-no, was that they're alternating their offensive line as well.
Okay.
They've got people coming in, swapping in.
Keeping them fresh.
Keeping them fresh, so people get used to injuries going in, but also you don't know what you got to scheme for as a defense anymore.
Yeah, it makes it harder for the other team. Right?
Exactly.
Well, let's get to what people are probably more interested in. What's coming up this week in Week 8?
Week 8. So this week we're going back to CBS and we're looking at Jamie Eisenberg's rankings. His rankings for me are really difficult because I normally kind of agree with a lot of them.
Yeah, he's pretty good.
But
he's tough to come across some hits and misses, but there's always
We've tried.
We've tried. As usual, I mean, we're talking here guys who he's got in, the top 20-ish, who you think is going to be out of the top 20, that kind of thing.
Stuff like that, or people that you think are ranked way too low or something.
For example, that's our first thing, underrated. Exactly. Yeah. So who is underrated this week, Sam?
I chose Russell Wilson, actually. Oh. I'm not a massive fan of Russell Wilson.
No, I never had a huge point.
I don't know if you saw him dressed up as Batman a couple of days ago. It was him and Ciara dressed up as Batman. I'm never going to be able to look at Batman in a different way. I don't need to see him in latex. Anyway, so he's ranked 19th. He's barely even a start, going up against Dallas.
Right.
So it's barely even a start there.
Even in a 20-team league.
In a 20-team, yeah, exactly. Which for me seems ridiculous. I mean, he's going to run it more. We know he's going to run it more. He's got more yards than even Cam has on the ground.
Right.
And, okay, maybe he won't be a top 10. I can see him being a top 12. I just think 19th for Russell Wilson is very, very low.
It is. I mean, so there's 18 quarterbacks who are going to score more points than Russell when Russell's going against the Cowboys. I mean, let's face it, the Cowboys are in a death spiral.
Yeah, and the D's taken a step back, I think.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they're getting frustrated with the offense, right?
Yeah.
They're carrying the team, and they can't. They're not that good.
No, I think so. And which means they're gassed a lot, aren't they? They're tiring out. They're looking,
If you look at last week, though, I mean, they really did. I mean, that Giants game, sorry for going to the Cowboys. No. But, I mean, the Cowboys actually had better stats. There was just a couple of big plays that they lost.
A couple of INTs from Cassell.
Exactly. Well, 3, I think.
3,
And that big kickoff return. Anyway. I do think, Russell against the Cowboys better than 19th. I mean, the fear would be if they get up big early, right?
Sure.
And then it's just handing the ball off to Lynch.
Yeah.
And then whoever else they want to hand the ball off to.
Thomas Rawls.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, this would be the fear, but I think, higher than 19.
Okay. And your guy?
Jason Witten, staying on the Cowboy theme. Why not? Yeah. I've got to keep my optimism somehow with the Cowboys.
Above the waterline.
Yeah, exactly. It's hard. But, I mean, there is reasons for hope, right? Tight end for the Cowboys going against the Seahawks is a good pick because they're second worst against tight ends.
Yeah,
Seahawks, right?
just a shade under 12 points a game to tight ends.
Yeah, so I mean, they give up points, the Seahawks, to the tight ends. Jason Witten is a pretty decent tight end still.
He's above average, so you'd expect him to get over that.
Yeah, exactly. And what does Castle have to throw to? I'm assuming Castle's starting again this week.
I'd expect so, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, some kind of pressure valve, as they say, right? I mean, yeah, I see Jason Witten finishing somewhere around, tight end 1 territory.
Yeah,
right?
I would say so.
8th, 9th kind of thing. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
How about our overrated?
Overrated. So I've gone with Lamar Miller, which might seem a bit of an outlier.
Of course, you're doing the old reverse psychology.
Reverse psychology. Okay, so we know he's had 2 huge games, and I'm really high on him generally.
Yep.
But let's face it, he was going against some pretty easy pickings. He was going against the Texans and the Titans. Okay, they've got pieces on defense, but overall, the Miami blasted them. They're really not in the same league as the Patriots.
Who they got this week, right?
Who
Yeah,
they
so
got.
I mean, it's a tough matchup for a running back because the Patriots will score points.
The Patriots will score points, which means they're going to have to put it in the air. I mean, it might mean that he'll throw to Miller. He can catch out of the backfield as well.
Catches those screens and scampers for 55.
Exactly.
Yards
But this is a place where Jarvis Landry, I think, will pick up, where Rashad Matthews will pick up. And the Pats are allowing the 5th fewest points to running backs in the league.
For the reason being that they get up on teams and teams can't run the ball, right?
Right.
So yeah, I can see that. I mean, a tough AFC East battle. I'm hoping for a closer game. So
It's a Thursday night game as well, which is always a wild card.
It is tough, isn't it? So he's ranked 10th.
He's ranked 10th.
What do you figure is a good number for him?
I would say, so I'm calling him overrated. I'd say he's in that more 16 to 20 range.
All right. So still sneaks into RB2.
Low
territory.
RB2.
Yeah, so
I'd be confident as an RB2, but I mean, if you've got other RB2 people to start above him, I'd think about it.
Miller falls to a flexi.
Yeah, possibly.
It'd be tough to put him on the bench after the last.
Oh yeah,
games.
I don't think you could bench. Or if you were going to bench him, it would show you've got a hell of a strong
a
bench.
stable of runners.
Exactly.
I'm starting Miller in one of my leagues, so mid-teens sounds about right.
Yeah. And who have you got, Shane?
Well, this is where the big shock comes, because you might remember a few weeks back, who was the first one to point out that Gary Barta's train was coming?
Choo-choo.
Exactly.
Next stop, Cleveland.
And really, he has been a monster for the last month.
Yeah. I don't know where it's come from. Because
I picked him for one game. I mean, I thought it was a one-game wonder against the Raiders, if I remember right.
Yeah.
Because the Raiders give up all these points to tight ends. And then he just somehow kept it going. They started game planning to give it to Gary Barnidge.
Yeah.
And he kept it going, had a TD streak for like 4 games or something like that. But this week, Cleveland is home to the Arizona Cardinals. And so, having Gary Barnidge ranked as 5th tight end.
That seems way high.
5th. I know. So the Cardinals give up the least number of points to tight ends, boys and girls. So I would even say he's not a tight end 1 this week.
Right.
You have somebody else to start. You start him with confidence. Get Gary on your bench just for 1 week. All right?
Yeah.
They will force him the ball a couple of times, but he's not in the top 10.
No, okay, fine. Okay, and now it's time to look backwards at our Week 7 catnip and kryptonite. So, Week 7, who did you have?
My catnip in Week 7 was none other than a boy named Kristen Michael. I got a little bit excited about the hype train.
Because they'd had the bye.
Yeah, exactly. And there was talk about him getting all these first running back 1 reps, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, it didn't happen. Run DMC, McFadden had a really good game. I mean, let's face it. Stole his thunder, and Michael ended up with 18 yards.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
And 2 yards through reception.
My God. So he was outside the top 50.
Yeah.
So definitely, if you had him starting, thanks to me, you're probably pissed off right now.
Can you see him being cut by Dallas?
No. Randall's a bit banged up right now. I mean, Kristen's one of these works in progress. He'll float around for a bit. I mean, McFadden's going to get hurt at some point too.
Fair point.
Michael might have value at some point, not now. Get him on your bench, stash him away.
Yeah.
He'll hang around for a bit.
Yeah.
Who did you have last week?
I went with Ladarius Green. Del Don had him ranked at 17th ranked tight end, and I was like, that's way too low.
Yeah.
Darius Green. First of all, they were going up against the Raiders, and we all know the Raiders don't know what a tight end is.
Right.
He ended up the third ranked tight end. In fact, I think last week I predicted them both to be within the top 10.
All right.
In the end, as it was, Gates was out.
Okay.
So that's why...
Oh, yeah, I remember talking about, having the two tight ends. Should we start two?
Exactly.
Can you start two?
Can you start two?
Gates didn't even start, right?
He didn't even start.
So, yeah.
But I think... Okay, so he ended up the third ranked tight end. So fantasy-wise, it was good. He got 45 yards, a touchdown, and two two-point conversions.
Wow.
Two two-point conversions. And now it's time to look at Kryptonite. So who did you choose and how did it go?
Yeah, pretty easy pick it turned out being. I took Jeremy Macklin, receiver Chiefs. As it turned out, he didn't pass the concussion protocol. He didn't play, and so I think I hit on that one.
Definitely a point to you, even if it's through someone else's pain.
Exactly. How about yourself?
Mine was through other people's pain, and that was Jordan Matthews.
Okay.
He was 27th.
Right.
Ranked, and I think on... No, he was 27th ranked on CBS. He was 29th and 23rd ranked.
I gotcha.
And he ended up with one fantasy point.
Yeah,
14 receiving yards.
He's been a huge bust since, week 2?
Yeah, I mean, it's all part of Chip Kelly's flying circus that you really don't know what's happening.
Yeah, I was thinking of dropping him in my, I think it's a 12-team league. I mean, I'm surprised I didn't. I'm feeling dirty.
Yeah, I mean, I think in redrafts
he's droppable.
He's totally droppable, I would say.
Yeah.
I would say so, along with Aguilar as well. I mean, there's no one you trust really on Philly's team at all.
Josh, huh?
That's what I'm talking about. Exactly.
How about our Week 8 catnips?
So, Week 8. So, I chose Matt Ryan.
Okay.
Matty Ice. He is at Tampa Bay this week, which is always a good start.
Mm-hmm.
Although, they nearly beat the Washington Racists last week.
Yeah, it was pretty close. Actually.
It was close, and then we had Kirk Cousins in doing his little gift stuff. So he's ranked 10th. Mm-hmm. So he's a low-end start.
He's a just barely start QB1.
He's just barely start QB1.
Yeah. What do you think?
Julio Jones got a touchdown for the first time in 4 weeks, and so if Julio's clicking, then Matt Ryan's clicking.
Yeah, I mean, Roddy White's still okay. Hankerson's hurt a bit.
Hurt a bit.
But, I mean, you got Julio Jones, you got targets. Yeah, they're going to be fine.
Exactly. The Bucs are 5th worst against wide receivers and 4th worst against QBs as well. So there's potential there, I think. I don't know, I just think 10th against Tampa Bay. I would start any quarterback against Tampa Bay, and I'd feel pretty happy about it.
So it could be a top fiver.
Yeah, I would say top 5 to 6, I think is probably a better bet than between 10 and 12.
Yeah, I'm with you.
And you?
I went with little Stevie Johnson, Chargers there. They're playing Baltimore this week. If you've been paying attention at all this year, the Ravens are having a little bit of a tough time stopping wide receivers. What do I have there? 2nd worst, so giving up the 2nd most points against wide receivers this year.
So you're expecting him to have a big game?
Yeah, I mean, okay, there's other targets there. But what was I reading about Rivers? Like, Rivers is on target, set some kind of record this year?
Yeah.
For, passing yards? It's
definitely number of children.
Yeah.
He's got number 8 on the way. He's going to have his own starting... he's going to have his own starting lineup soon.
God almighty. Anyway, so there's other guys he's going to be throwing to, but Stevie Johnson's been back now. This will be his 2nd week back coming off the injury, right?
Yeah, he missed a couple of games.
Yeah, I'm thinking over 100 yards in the TD, right?
I would say so.
Yeah, I mean, expect him to pick up from, what did he get, 50 yards last week, right?
Mm-hmm.
But he still had 8 targets. I think Stevie Johnson going forward is a good start most weeks, this week in particular.
Fine.
I'm taking him.
All right, then. So, on to Kryptonite, and you've picked, let's just say, a dark horse.
Yeah.
Or a dark horse.
Hey. Orleans Darkwa, yeah? Is it Darwa or Darkwa?
Darkwa.
Yeah, there's a little misprint there.
No.
Orleans Darkwa, the new flash-in-the-pan running back for the Giants, right? So I think
recency bias.
Yeah, it really. I mean, he's ranked 24th even by Eisenberg. Yeah. I mean, New Orleans isn't great against running backs, but still the Saints. I mean, I think they'll be all right. What I don't get here is, I mean, a 3-headed monster in New York has turned into a 4-headed monster, and how can you rank one of them even above 30? I don't know. I mean, so Darkwa is better than Williams, Andre.
Fine.
But he doesn't catch the ball like Shane Vereen. I mean, Rashad Jennings is still, I think, the technical starter.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm thinking you're basing this on one powerful 20-yard run against the Cowboys for a touchdown. It's too high.
Yeah.
Stay away from Darkwa. Let him establish himself first before you go crazy and start him in like a 10 or 12 team league.
Yeah, this is why, I mean, I really...
Yeah, 24th is starting in a 12-team league, for sure.
It's starting in 12 team. Yeah, absolutely.
It's
I mean,
a flex in a 10-team league.
Yeah, for me, it's strange. You see the rankings each time, and someone does well one week, out of the blue, and everyone rushes to pick him up or rushes to start. And I just
I'm picking him up in one of my leagues.
Yeah,
but he's on my bench.
So you'll see what he does next week, and then
of course, this is our flea flicker.
Right,
I've got a bid on him. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I actually have a bid on him in 2 leagues. I think I have a bid on him in my 20-team league as well. I think I went a bit crazy, like $27 or something. Wow. I don't know. I haven't. I need somebody. I have Zach Zenner still sitting on my bench who's on IR. So I actually seriously need a running back in that league, and we're looking at it right now, and I got him, and I only claimed it. Only cost me $7.
Okay, so it's $7.
This is a dynasty league, second-year running back. I dropped Niall Davis, tired of him just sitting on my bench doing nothing. Mm-hmm. Of course, sure, Charkandrick might screw up eventually, but I think going forward in a keeper league, dynasty league, Orleans does have long-term perspective. Mm-hmm. But this week, I say stay away.
Okay,
keep him on your bench.
Fair enough.
Who you got there for your kryptonite?
I've got Nate Washington.
Ooh,
so kind of exactly
recency bias.
Another recency bias again. I mean, in a similar way to Darkwater, though Washington's obviously got a bit more of a track record that he can produce in places. Yeah. He's not an all-star player. He's not an all-pro. Sorry,
he's just one of those guys who's always hung around, and he's a pretty decent second or third wide receiver for any team he plays on.
And that's what he's going to be most weeks. So there's no way. Okay, so he's ranked 30th this week. So he's pretty low.
Right, which is still a possible flex.
So he's a flex, but I still, 2 yards. He got 2 touchdowns and 127 yards.
He had a huge week last week.
Massive week. But then, that was in junk time. And by junk time, I mean 70% of last week's game. Because
they were
up
44-0.
41-0, or maybe even 44-0 before they even got a yard.
Exactly. So they were just throwing the ball. It can't all go to DeAndre. So obviously somebody had to catch the ball. I agree with you. I'm not starting Nate Washington anywhere.
No, I wouldn't say so.
No.
And now it's time for...
Dun, dun, dun!
Game of Intrigue.
What do you got this week?
I'm going for what I think could be an absolute barnstormer of a fantasy game. I'm going with Bengals at Steelers.
Points all over the show.
Points all over the show. Start all Bengals. Start all Steelers. This is going to be an absolute points fest.
Find anybody with a pulse and start them.
Pretty much. Big Ben is likely back this week, so we know he can play through pain, so don't worry if he's active.
Interesting to see how he does coming back. I mean, I've heard he's got no limitations in starting.
Right. So in that case,
he starts.
Great. Mm-hmm. So he has 2 legitimate wide receiver targets. You've got Antonio Brown, who is an absolute stud wide receiver.
Yeah.
You've got Bryant back as well.
The alien.
And you've got a top 5 running back that catches the ball as well.
So we're going to have two top 10 wide receivers. We're going to have a top 5 running back for sure.
And a top 5 quarterback.
All right.
I would say Bryant.
Offensive show.
Yeah, I mean Bryant's an awesome player, and it also and just makes the Steelers so dangerous.
Yeah.
So all of these 4, I would say, are must sits. Must start. Sorry. So they're coming up against the solid Bengals D that has that they're good, but they're not great. But I don't see them stopping the Pittsburgh offense in terms of fantasy production, at least.
No, the Bengals are a solid defense. I mean, they are. But I think the Steelers, with Roethlisberger back, are going to get back on track, throwing up those crazy points. And, it'll be a slugfest.
Exactly.
And on the other side of the ball?
On the other side of the ball, I mean, it's a very similar situation. It's hard to get away from those key players. AJ Green will probably have a huge game.
God, he had a bye last year. Yeah, they're coming off a bye.
They're coming off a bye. They've got the Ginger Slinger, who is becoming a very, very good quarterback.
Isn't it the Red Rifle?
The Red Rifle. I came up with the Ginger Slinger. I quite like. My mind's slightly more pejorative, so it's slightly more racist. Gio looked good as well. We know what Gio can do, and he seems to be beating out Hill at the moment as that lead running back.
He is the lead back, yeah, but Hill's going to get your points too. I mean, again, you get 2 starting running backs.
Yeah,
startable.
Exactly, and then I tip Eifert to have a good game as well. Okay, it doesn't take a genius to tip Eifert because he's top 5 tight end most weeks. But the Steelers give up the 3rd most fantasy points to tight ends, or the 4th maybe, I think, to tight ends at 11.1 per game.
The starters you have here, there's wide receivers as well, right?
I know. I guess the only issue, when you're going with deeper leagues for the Bengals is which other of their wide receivers is going to make some noise for Cincy. So you've got Marvin Jones and Sanu, but I guess it seems like Marvin Jones is making that wide receiver 2 spot his own.
He has taken it, I think. I mean, there are weeks that Sanu's going to get more points, but I like Jones a bit better,
he's had 3 touchdowns on the seasons and 321 yards on 24 receptions. So as a second wide receiver, it's not too bad.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking in 12-team leagues, you could have the quarterback, got the Red Rifle, Ginger Slinger, A.J. Green, Marvin Jones, Eifert, Gio, and Hill. So you have 6 starters.
You could have 6 starters on there, and you could have probably a legitimate 4 from.
Easy. Oh, and Heath Miller, I think, is startable too. So 5 on the other side.
It's ridiculous.
So you got 11 starters in 12 teams.
So that is why it's my fantasy game of intrigue.
If you're playing fantasy football, you're probably watching that game.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I was going to go to my game.
Yeah, this one's, fortunately, they're not going to cross over. One's on a Thursday.
Oh, yeah, exactly. We got the advantage.
So who is your game of intrigue?
Obviously, you've just given away the intrigue.
Sorry.
If you've been paying attention to Thursday night game, it's the Dolphins at the Patriots this week, yeah?
So what do you reckon?
Well, as for a final score or just what's going to go on?
I think, fantasy-wise, let's go.
I mean, the Pats are going to win probably, right?
Yeah.
But, I mean, what a world of difference the coaching change makes, right? I mean, the Dolphins have looked like they were supposed to look from the beginning of the year, right?
Yeah.
They were predicted by a lot of people to do really well. And, I mean, last week in particular, it was a bit of it's an amazing show, right?
Yeah.
They were up 41-0 at the half, yeah?
God, that was ridiculous. I was watching on Red Zone, and it may as well, rather than being called Red Zone, it may as well have been called the Texan Zone. It was ridiculous.
It
was spent all the time in the Texans Red Zone.
God, yeah, I mean, Lamar Miller, 236 total yards at the half as well,
it's bonkers.
So, I mean, the guy could have come up with like 500-yard game.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, slowed down a bit.
But still.
But anyway, I think he's still an RB1 this week, even against the Pats. I mean, he's not a number 5 as he was picked there, but I think he still could
Decent start.
Yeah, it could be. Of course, you've also got Jarvis Landry, finally broke out a bit last week. 2 touchdowns, I think?
Yeah.
And he had that crazy catch where he ran all the way across the field. Yeah, it was an amazing show. Rashard Matthews is startable, of course. In most leagues, I would say. The question I'm still not sure is the tight end, Julius Thomas. I'm not sure if Julius is the guy for the Dolphins, yeah?
Julius Thomas?
What's his last
Jags.
You're right. What's the guy? Cameron. Jesus.
Jordan Cameron.
I've got that written down. That's a good thing we cut that down.
Yeah, exactly. Quick editing change.
Jordan Cameron. Yeah, I'm not completely convinced that Jordan Cameron. I'm less convinced about Julius Thomas.
Yeah, I'm definitely, especially playing for the Finns.
All right, I'm starting Jordan Cameron.
Okay, so you would, yeah?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, fair enough.
So. Why not?
And on the other side of the ball, what do you think the Packs will do in terms of fantasy?
Well, it's tough. I mean, as we were talking before, you never really know who's going to be the guy, especially out of the backfield.
Yeah.
But, I mean, who's catching the ball as well sometimes. I mean,
sure.
If you look at the game last week, you had Brandon LaFell come back. They targeted him like enough times for a big game, but he kind of had this problem with his hands.
If 4 or 5 drops?
6 is what I read. I mean, out of control. I mean, Brady's been saying the right things this week, like, we still have our faith in him, blah, blah, blah. And I think LaFell still is the guy they need to stretch the field on the outside, so he's going to play. Of course, you've always got Edelman. Edelman's a go. Mm-hmm. Question becomes, like, how about Amendola? Is he startable? I mean, he's had 2 big weeks in a row. Mm-hmm. I think you probably do have to go with him, right?
Yeah, no, I think so.
Of course, there's always Gronk. Of course, there's Brady.
So Gronk's obviously a must-sit.
Yeah,
Brady's a must-sit. Brandon Fell, what do you reckon? You think he's a wide receiver 2 or a flex?
Yeah, I mean, even in all leagues, I think I start LaFell. I think you got to. Running backs, dude, you tell me. Dion Lewis, if he's healthy, I think they're starting him.
Yeah, he's been good when he started, and obviously they're going to run it probably more against Miami than they did against the Jets. Yeah. Well, you couldn't run it less, could you?
If Lewis doesn't start, then you got to go back to Blount, probably, right? If Lewis starts, do you start Blount?
No, I don't think so.
Doubt it.
No, I would say you start one of those two.
Yeah, I'm with you there.
Lewis is one.
So, we got one more segment, my friend.
It's time for that fantasy trust tree.
Let's climb it.
And this time, we've got an email from a foreign listener.
Wow, we have some of those.
We do as well. Dear Rankings Attack, I lost big time on Sunday. I never stood a chance. I was put in an impossible situation by my former boss, who's gone to Brussels, and our customers have been looking at our competitors for the last 2 years. They offer nothing new. It's just they have a better advertising company. So I've got to clear the house out and really try and move the company forward. Anyway, before I get some fresh faces in, I need to get rid of some deadwood that are stinking up the joint. Which of these do you think offer me nothing for the rest of the campaign? Jordan Matthews, Vincent Jackson, Darren McFadden, or Amir Abdullah? Dziękuję ci bardzo, Eva in Warsaw.
A Polish listener. Disappointed with the campaign so far, yes. For those of you not in the country of our residence, we did have an election this weekend, yeah? And so there is some dead wood that's got to be moved.
There is.
And what better place to start than on your fantasy team?
Why not?
Jordan Matthews, Vincent Jackson, Darren McFadden, Amir Abdullah. So 2 wide receivers, 2 running backs.
Yeah, and this is not about who would you start and sit this week. I think this is looking at who do you think gives you, or which of these would you be happiest dropping? So if you had to keep 3 for the rest of the season, which one of them goes?
All right, so you're trying to pick somebody up, let's say. You're making a trade and you got to get rid of one guy.
Yeah.
So Matthews, wide receiver, Eagles, definitely on the, yeah, I'm leaning that way. Jackson, I mean, with Vincent Jackson, I mean, he's going to have some off weeks, but you're still going to get some good weeks where you're going to get 8 catches, 120 yards, a touchdown.
Exactly.
Darren McFadden, of course, went nuts last week.
Yep, he and going, like you said, Jerry Jones loves him.
Yeah.
But Jerry Jones loves Greg Hardy, so I'm really not sure he's a good judge of character.
No.
So the less said about that shitstorm, the better.
Yeah, true enough. And of course, yeah, the rookie Amir Abdullah in Detroit.
Yeah, I think so. For me, Abdullah, I think out of those 4, probably fills me with the most hope.
Okay.
I think that going forward, second half of the season, he should secure that RB1 spot in Detroit. Mm-hmm. He should make that his. He's got to deal with those fumble issues.
Yeah, but still, yeah, you're right. Like, Drake Bell's not going to take his job away.
No.
They do have the catching back theoretic, but yeah, Abdullah will be the first and second
major downs back,
yeah.
I think. I would say so. So for him, I would say he's probably the one that gives me the most confidence.
They got a new offensive coordinator.
They do. They got rid of Joe Lombardi, and they've got in a new guy called Jim Bob Cooter.
You can't go wrong with a guy named Jim Bob.
You can't. With a name like that, he's either going to be...
Seriously, Jim Bob. Apologies to all our Jim Bob listeners, but really.
All 7 of you. Anyway, so Jim Bob Cooter's in there.
Cooter?
I know, exactly. So he's got 2 things to do there. He's got to simplify the offense and allow Stafford to sling it, which we know he can do.
Yeah,
you have Calvin Johnson. Throw Calvin Johnson the goddamn ball, and he will catch it.
We've seen it a couple of times the last couple of weeks. They do it once, and then they forget about it the rest of the game, right? So, yeah, run Abdullah. He'll keep going forward. I like it. McFadden's got a chance to be the every down guy going forward. Randall's a bit
or at least a serviceable RB2. Yeah,
okay,
definitely.
Exactly. Vincent Jackson should go. So I think we're going to probably narrow our focus on...
Matthews.
Jordan Matthews.
Yeah, for me, I mean, we've spoken about him a bit. There's just... You don't know what you're going to get with Philly at all from week to week, and Matthews has just been a massive disappointment. Now, whether that's a product of the offensive problems that Philly's having in general, whether it's a problem with him, I don't know. I think it's more about the offensive set rather than him.
I agree. I think there was something of a drop last week, but I mean...
it was a lost fumble.
Yeah. Oh, that was a fumble.
Yeah, exactly. It was a lost fumble.
So, I mean, yeah, I've got Matthews in one of my teams, and I might just follow our advice here and...
Kick him to the curb.
Jettison that
jettison
bastard,
him.
Or whatever happens to be. How would you say jettison that bastard in Polish?
I've no idea.
Eva, drop Matthews.
I think so. And on that bombshell, we'll leave it here for week 8, and we'll see you next Wednesday. And
best of luck.
Yeah, best of luck, and hopefully you're going to go 3-0 unless you're playing me. See you later.
Later.